Welcome into this edition of Huddle Up. This is the second episode. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in to the first one. It's been a ton of fun. Again, if you haven't listened to the first one, it's on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube, pretty much all the ways you can get your podcast. I'll also be posting stuff on my TikTok and my sports Instagram at Leonidas Delyannis _sports. But I just wanted to jump straight into it. And so the first thing I wanted to talk to about today is the fact a lot of teams have come out and said they're mulling over the idea of trading for TJ Watt. And if you don't know about the whole TJ Watt situation with the Steelers, he still has not been signed. And TJ Watt's one of the top 2-3 guys in the NFL, especially at the defense position. And he's just so damn good. Right now, he's sitting on, the final year of his contract, if I'm not mistaken. And he's looking for that long-term extension. And the Steelers have been talking all this about how they're a win-now team. They want to win now. They want to win now. They just traded for guys like Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith to help bolster up that defense and offense. They also signed Aaron Rodgers in the offseason. But they still haven't signed TJ Watt. And TJ Watt's one of the guys he's one of the few guys in the NFL who will keep an offensive coordinator up at night. And there's no other way to put it. He is a nightmare for you to scheme up against. And it's just really weird because the Steelers wanted to talk all this about how they want him, but they still haven't signed him yet. And then they just gave their GM, Omar Khan, a new extension. And so he's really beginning pissed off. And it was reported back in 21 or 22 that when he signed his first contract extension, that in that meeting, the Steelers told him, "You're lucky to be a Pittsburgh Steeler." And TJ Watt looked him dead in the face and said, "You're lucky to fucking have me." And if we're being truthfully honest, the Steelers are lucky to have that man. He is so good. And there's been a lot of rumors about trades. I know I was watching Get Up the other day, and on the panel, I forget who was on it, but there was 4 different people, and they were asking who would be the best team to trade for him. And 3 of the 4 said the Commanders. And that's something that, as a Commanders fan, I would love. Don't get me wrong. But it's very difficult because I don't know what we'd have to give up for him. I saw one trade, which was a 3rd and 5th round pick and Deron Payne for him. And so, truthfully, I wouldn't be mad about that. Deron Payne's somebody who's in for a big year this year, especially with the Jonathan Allen loss. But he's also somebody who hasn't lived up to his contract expectations when we signed him, 2-3 years ago to a long extension. We gave him all the money, and it just seemed like he was going to be that next big guy on our defensive line, but he just never ended up being. And then he's dealt with some injuries and stuff, but it seemed like more last year that the man was content with after he got the money. He didn't have that hunger he did 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever the case was. And that was a really annoying part to see. Watt's somebody who's had 108 sacks, and it was reported he wants above 40 mil. Reportedly, he wants more than Myles Garrett's contract, which is, first of all, absurd money. But at the same time, he's worth it. So it's that whole hard situation of how much do you want to give this guy? And you need to pay him, because if you don't pay him, he's going to leave. And you can't be mad if he leaves you because he's worth the money. He deserves to get the money. He's worth the money. And at the end of the day, it sucks for the Steelers, but if they don't pay him, I mean, shit, I would love to trade for him. There was talks about maybe sending Terry for him and some other stuff. That goes a bit different. I love Terry to death. Terry's been one of my favorite players since we drafted him in the 3rd round in 2019 out of Ohio State. He's been somebody who's been stuck with this franchise, and he's wanted to be here. He wants to be here. But Terry's also a top 10 receiver. He's a top 10 receiver, and if we're being honest, he's more of that 8, 9, 10 rank compared to TJ Watt, who's a top 2 defensive player in the league. Top 3 to top 5 at worst. And at that edge position, it's 1A, 1B with Myles Garrett and him. And if you can get somebody like that on a caliber player on your team, that does a hell of a lot more than a top 10 receiver. Especially when you looked at this Commanders team where it's their biggest weakness, or hole, quote unquote, right now is that edge position. After we haven't really signed anybody. Yes, there's still guys on the market like Jadeveon Clowney, Von Miller, and a bunch of other guys, but paying them and who are on the back half of their career versus TJ Watt, who is still one of the best players in the league. Like it's an overall extremely idiotic move for them. And I don't really understand how they're still in the situation of it's like they don't want to pay him yet. And I don't know if it's just because he's all asking for too much, but he's also asking what he deserves. And if you're gonna sit there and say he doesn't deserve what he's gonna get paid, then you're lying through your damn teeth. Like what all he's asking for is what the market is saying he's worth and what he knows damn well he's worth. And it's really confusing why the Steelers haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. And so I'm truthfully hoping that he gets traded to us and they don't sign him because that would be best case scenario for us. But it's just really weird. I will say this podcast and the NFL side is going to be very Commanders heavy. We got 4 things to get to, 3 of which are Commanders definite. That one turned into a little bit of Commanders. But moving on, I know I talked about Terry a little bit when talking about TJ, but the Terry McLaurin situation is something that I thought was going to get dragged on a hell of a lot less than it has so far. Like, it really felt like it was going to be like, no matter what the media says, no matter what everyone's coming out and reporting, I'm going to wake up one day, I'm going to see Terry got extended, but I'm going to be fine. There's nothing else to do with it. But he still hasn't. It was reported that he was in Italy with Magic Johnson and Adam Peters and a bunch of other people like Jay-Z, who's another partial owner, or was going to be a partial owner in the team. He was in Italy with them, and because from his Instagram story, he was posting in Italy, they were posting in Italy. But it still hasn't come out as a new deal. And I just saw right before recording this some more stuff on JPA Football, great Instagram page if you want to get anything football related, NFL wise. That they're still very far apart. And now I do not think we are going to trade him. There's zero doubt in my mind. He is going to be a Commander, whether it's he plays on his current deal this year and we franchise tag him and then work out a deal, or whatever the case is. He is going to be a Commander at the end of the day. And it's more of just annoying where I haven't sounded the alarms yet, but I will be sounding them soon if it's not done by training camp. And yes, we have, just 21 days till the first day of training camp. But if he's not somebody we've signed yet, then I don't really know, because he wants to be a Commander, and he's come out and said he wants to be a Commander. He loves this place. He wants to retire a Commander. And I personally want to see him in our Commanders Hall of Fame one day, the Ring of Honor. So if he can somehow make his way to the NFL Hall of Fame, I want to be able to see him and it just say Washington Commander and Redskin Terry McLaurin. I don't want to see any other team on his name, because he has done so much for this franchise and dealing with every damn quarterback from Garrett Gilbert to Sam Bradford for a game and all these different guys. Like, we were pulling dudes out the broadcast booth to come play. In every year, he's had 1,000 yards. Yes, he barely got to the 1,000 this year, but he also had 14 touchdowns. And you take the 14 touchdowns, which was a franchise record, over then getting 1,100, 1,200 yards. And it did seem like at times, though, he wasn't really a factor point in this offense. Yes, it was kind of from the fact of Cliff Kingsbury, our offensive coordinator, wanted to run that no huddle and that fast-paced offense so much. And doing that, you can't switch up the sets and all that. So it was like, Terry, you're on the left or right side of the field, whichever it was, you're staying there. I was happy how as the season progressed, we started to get him more open and really design more for him. And you kind of saw that in the playoff game against the Bucks and against the Lions. And as the season was going, we started to see, all right, he's our best weapon on offense. And you're lying through your teeth if you say no. Like, we need to get this motherfucker the ball. And I was happy they finally started doing that. But if we can't lock him up, I don't know. Because holy shit, I do not want this man to leave. And if he does leave, I know as a Commanders fan, it's going to be heartbreaking to have to see him in a different team's uniform. And I hope to God that doesn't come a day where we have to trade him or he leaves in free agency. But it's also something that you don't really know what's going to happen. And I thought this would be a lot more of an open and shut book thing, but it hasn't turned into that yet. And so that's been kind of scary from it. But I think he will still be a Commander at the end of the day. And I would be very shocked if we do not sign him to a long-term extension before training camp, or at least before the season. Like, if we go into the season and he has not been signed yet, that's when I think the true alarm bells have to sound off. Because right now, it all happens. Like, it doesn't matter what happens now. I think the real breaking point is when you go into the season and if you look at this man is still not signed yet. Moving on with the Commanders though, they did announce the other day that they will be coming out with a new uniform on July 9th. And it's going to be a jersey and helmet. And so that's something I'm really looking forward to. I've seen a lot of inspirations and leaks of what it could possibly be. I mean, those photos of Jaden walking around in a Doug Williams jersey, the old Commandos quarterback from the 90s or 80s or whatever it was when he won a Super Bowl with us, first black quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl MVP and Super Bowl at the starting quarterback position. I'm really hoping they go back to more of a retro Redskins look. Now, I know they won't be able to have the R on the helmet anymore, but personally, I'm really hoping they go back to the spear with like the Boston Braves type spear thing. There was all the leaks of when Media Day happened. They had all those things of Jaden with the spear and the photo shoot with the spear and all that. So I'm really hoping they go back to that. I don't really know what the hell they're going to do. Now, I am having to wait till Wednesday to have to see it. I don't know when they're dropping it Wednesday, but I do know that no matter what it is, you're going to have a large amount of people who are pissed the hell off and also a large amount of people who are happy. But again, there's no winning because it's a uniform and that's how the life goes. But I truthfully still don't know which uniform I'd rather have them redo. Whether it's the whites, because the whites are terrible. They're horrendous. Or if it's the home reds. And the reds suck, though, because it's not even a burgundy color. Same with the whites. They don't have burgundy. It's like a cranberry Arizona Cardinals red. Like, they don't even have the Redskins Commanders colors in the thing anymore. And then you look at it like, why the hell is that what we have? I'm really hoping they can fix all that and it doesn't turn into just a complete shit show. But I don't know. July 9th is when the drop date is. I personally can't wait. I also know, truthfully, no matter what it looks like, I will be buying a jersey. I'll be buying a new one. I don't know if it's going to be a Trustway or Punter because I've always wanted one of his jerseys, or if I'm going to get Frankie Louvu or Bobby Wagner. I don't know what I'm going to get. I can guarantee you, though, that I will be buying one, though, because that's just kind of how it ends up with me, no matter how much I want to hate. Like, when they became the football team, I bought a jersey. When they became the Commanders, I bought a jersey. Like, it's just, it sucks. I'm going to buy all the gear every time, though. I'm too stuck into being such a big fan. Like, there's too much room to deal with it. But talking about training camp, the Commanders did just announce their training camp days the other day. And so it's 6 total days. And this has been a decrease from what it used to be. And we've seen that decrease around the NFL, but especially with the Commanders where those 6 total days, only 3 of them are open to the general public fans. So it's July 27th, the 29th, and August 2nd are open to the regular fans. And then the 28th, 30th, and August 6th are the season ticket members only. And so I was lucky enough. I saw the drop. I was at my internship, and I saw the drop at 11:36, I think it was, and they opened at 11. I secured the last final tickets, like the final 6 tickets to any of the days. It was July 27th. I got 6 tickets for that. I wanted to go. I'm going finally. Thank God. But this is a decrease that we've seen from around the NFL of teams shutting down training camps and shutting down the amount of practices that are open. We've seen it for the past like 5 years where they've been the thing of they don't want to show too much. They don't want to show too much. Well, you don't have to show us exactly what you're running in training camp. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but you don't need to. You did see it in 2012 though, because I was at training camp that year going into the RG3 rookie season where training camp, you had RG3 running all these read options and everyone was sitting there like, are they really going to do this? Like, are we really going to run read options and all this different shit with RG3? And then you see week 1 against New Orleans in the Superdome. They're doing it. They're doing it. They're doing it. Now, I don't believe you need to show us what you have, but I'm also a firm believer on, for a lot of fans, this is the only time that they're able to come see the team. And I know the NFL doesn't really give a shit about the fans because they know no matter what, you're still going to buy the product. You're still going to turn in every Sunday or Monday or Thursday or Saturdays now on Christmas and all that to watch the games. But for a lot of fans, this is the only time you're allowed to see the team and that you have the ability to take off work or have the money to go to training camp to see the team. And it sucks now that the NFL is really moving away from all that type of stuff and making it such a if you're not coming to the game, you're not seeing us. And that pisses me off, especially when the fact of, even with the training camp days that they have now, there has been a push where they won't let you record because they don't want stuff to get leaked and they don't want all that. But, well, fuck's sake, why are you showing the whole league? Because anyone can go to these. Why are you showing everybody what you can actually do? You have the bubble and all those practices. Why is that not where you're running your legitimate stuff? Like, why are you running that in open training camp practices? If anything, that's on you. And so that's something that's pissed me off a lot. I am very happy, though, and I've been lucky enough to be able to get tickets for the first day. So I know me and my brother are definitely going up to the day on the 27th. So I cannot wait for that, to be able to see Jaden and hopefully Terry Fuck and all these different guys in action. The top of Trey Amos, a rookie out of Ole Miss, who I've just heard such highly of. I can't wait to see this offense and defense work, but it really sucks how they've been moving it all, because training camp used to be something that people would go to from the whole days. They would go to every day. And there used to be like 9 different days that you could go from. And they've really started to move that to, now it's 3. And let's be honest, if they want to get that 18th game pushed up, and because that's reportedly the NFL wants an 18th regular season game, we might not even have open training camp practices soon, because it used to be legit 2-a-days. Then it went to fake 2-a-days. Now it's not even 2-a-days. Like, it's just completely changed as the years have gone on, to the point of, I don't know how much longer they're even going to have training camp, which sucks as a fan, because I want to go be able to watch my team and see all this stuff, especially for free. But I don't know. Moving on to the college game, Jeremiah Smith was in a interview with the Athletics' Manny Navarro the other day at the OT7 playoffs, the overtime 7 playoffs. And he said this, quote, "I'm not a sore loser, but I hate losing. And losing to the team up north was pretty crazy," Smith told Navarro. "In the end, I think it really helped us play well in the playoffs. But I didn't want to go to Ohio State to lose the team up north. I hate them. Just something about them. For the next 2 years, I promise you, I will not lose to them. I cannot lose to them in the next 2 years," end quote. Now, I understand why Jeremiah Smith is coming out and saying how he will not lose to Michigan. And I understand the fact of it, but at the end of the day, Michigan's been a team that's had Ohio State's number for the past 4 years now. I know they won the Natty this year. And that's great. But when you look at when they play Michigan, they don't play like Ohio State, ever. It's like Ryan Day, for as much as you love him or hate him, decides when he wants to play Michigan, he wants to beat Michigan at being Michigan. He wants to run the ball down their throat, right into the strength of that Michigan team, which is that D-line and that run stop. He wants to try to beat Michigan at being Michigan, instead of sitting there, oh my God, we have the best receiver in college football, who's going to be the first overall pick in 2 years, and Jeremiah Smith, who just gained 20 pounds more and runs 3 miles an hour faster. I'm hoping, especially with Julian saying at quarterback, that they decide to actually sit there and play the damn game how they should be playing and how they want to play, instead of playing like Michigan. And it has seemed over these past years since Ryan Day took the job that no matter what he does, he physically cannot beat the team up north. And it is one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports around the world for a reason. And when you look at it, they physically can never beat Michigan. And I don't know what the hell it is with the Michigan Wolverines, but it seems like no matter what they do, they will not ever have that number. And I'm hoping, as somebody who grew up loving Ohio State football, that they can finally break that barrier. But I simply don't know. And if I was to talk to Jeremiah Smith, it would just be noted. You want to say that, you have to back it up now. You have to back it up. And then you look at when he played Michigan, he only had 5 catches for 35 yards. He did have a touchdown, but he only had 35 yards. That is the best player in college football, in my opinion. I know you can say what you want about Travis Hunter last year. I think he was the best player in college football as a freshman, and he was the best player on the best team in the nation. You had 35 yards against Michigan. Yes, you can say what you want about Will Howard. Will Howard played a good season, and it was right for him to transfer from Kansas State. You had 35 yards. You better not come back next year and have 35 yards. You better get at least 70 and a touchdown or 2. Like, I get you had the 5 catches, but 35 yards? You're playing Michigan in the worst Michigan team we've seen in the past 5 years. If I'm not mistaken, Will Johnson wasn't even playing that game, or he was injured because he's had those injuries all season. If there was a time to beat Michigan, it was last year when they were rebuilding. Not this year with Bryce Underwood, the number one prospect in the world, who just went to Michigan and got an absolute bag. This is not the time to beat them. Last year was the time to break the streak. And I know you can say what you want where it's, oh, they won the Natty. But if we're being honest, when you look at the Michigan and Ohio State fan bases, a Natty's great. But what matters is beating that other team, because Michigan was able to say, we won and we beat y'all. Ohio State, we won, but every Michigan fan saying, yeah, but you still lost to us. You still couldn't get us because Ryan Day can't get it done. And it sucks to say, but that's just how that team has turned out being. And they have their number every single year. They want to try to beat Michigan at being Michigan, which is idiotic. And I'm hoping with Julian saying now, they will be able to finally get back. Now, moving over to the SEC, I don't know if y'all know if Paul Feinbaum, who is known as the SEC insider for ESPN, a.k.a. the SEC dick rider of all time, the greatest dick rider of all time when it comes to the SEC. I know he was just furious when the Natty ended up being Ohio State versus Notre Dame, because he wants to talk about how the SEC this, SEC that, SEC this, SEC that, we're the best ever, we're the best ever. Now, the SEC is amazing. It used to be SEC, Mr. Tier, Big Ten, Pac-12, Big 12, ACC. Now it's really SEC, Big Ten. You can flip-flop them if you really want. Now, I still think the SEC is the best conference in the league, but Paul Feinbaum was on the Get Up show and was asked about what he expects from Arch Manning and Texas, and he had this to say.
The absolute roof. I think there's a reasonably good chance that Arch Manning will be sitting on the front row in New York at the Heisman ceremony. That's assuming that his team does what it's supposed to do and compete for not only the SEC, but for the national championship. And I really believe they will. I think Steve Sarkisian, who's one of the most amazing play callers I've ever seen, made a critical mistake late in the year. He was way too loyal to Quinn Ewers, who was banged up and was really ineffective. Had Arch Manning been instituted in the second half of that game, like Nick Saban did a couple of years ago with Tagovailoa, I think there's a reasonably good chance that Texas would have beaten Ohio State and won the national championship. They're very capable of doing it again this year. I believe also that Arch Manning is the best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006.
And so I'll say this about that. Paul Feinbaum has a problem of, I will agree with a lot of stuff he says, and then he throws in the bullshit every single time. And that's been the problem with not just Paul Feinbaum, but ESPN as a whole and Fox Sports. You don't even get me started on Fox Sports and Emmanuel Ocho and Joy Taylor or some of the ESPN people who go on there and just say the bullshit for clicks. But when you look at what he says, yes, I do agree with you. If Arch Manning, I'm a big Arch Manning guy. If he was thrown into that fire against the Ohio State game, and I think he could have done better than Quinn Ewers, because I do believe he's better than Quinn Ewers. I do, 100%. I do not think Quinn Ewers is that good. Quinn Ewers throws a nice tight spiral, but every ball is a loft. It's just a dud every time. And that's what you saw in that Ohio State game, where he physically could not do anything. The problem is, though, then you follow it up by saying he's the best quarterback since Tim Tebow in 2006. I love Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning's the truth. I think, as he says, if Arch Manning plays how I think he will win the Heisman and he will be on that stage, and Texas will be in that natty conversation. And everyone's been proven from Vegas to anything, Texas is in that natty conversation. But when you look at it, Arch Manning's played 2 games against very shitty competition. And then you want to say he's the best quarterback since Tim Tebow? Let's think about some of the quarterbacks we've had since Tebow. Cam Newton, Johnny Manziel, Joe Burrow. Throw in Dwayne Haskins if you want. Caleb Williams was insane in college. Say what you want in the pros. That man was fucking insane. And there's a reason he was the number 1 overall pick, an undisputed number 1 overall pick. Arch Manning's played 2 games. Yes, he looked amazing at the Manning Passing Academy. I saw all the highlights too. Peyton Manning, for a reason, said him and Garrett Nussmeier threw the prettiest balls. But then to go on to say he's the best since Tebow, he's played 2 games in his college career. He doesn't have enough tape on field to show that he is the best quarterback. Then you're just going out and saying it because, oh, I'm an SEC guy. I'm going to say it every time. And I'm a dick ride the SEC whenever it comes to it. No, like that is such a horrendous take just to sit there and say. And yes, I may be proven wrong. And Arch Manning may become the best quarterback since Tim Tebow. He may have a Joe Burrow-like season, how Joe Burrow did in, 2019? When he got drafted the first overall pick in 20 off of that amazing 2019 season when he won the Natty with LSU. He may do that. He may. But to come out right now and say he's the best quarterback since Tebow is absolutely absurd, and there's no other way to put it. Like, he has 2 games on tape. He did look good in those 2 games. I think he had 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, maybe 1 pick, and ran for 2 touchdowns also. And he was able to show that dual threat ability that I wish he was put in that Ohio State game in the semifinals or whatever it was, where we could have seen when Quinn Ewers was struggling. And I think it should have been pulled. I think it should have been a Jalen Hurts to a Tagovailoa situation. Now, it is a very risky and bold decision to make because it is Quinn Ewers' team. But at the end of the day, as a coach and Sark, you know more than us. Just like Saban did, you saw what Tua was able to do in practice. I think he should have been pulled, and they put in Arch Manning, but they did it for a reason. It could have been he's too inexperienced. They just don't trust him enough. Whatever the case is, it's his team now, and it's his team to show. But just to come out and say he's the best quarterback since Tebow, do y'all forget how good Cam Newton was? How good Johnny Manziel was, who won the Natty, who won the Heisman as a freshman? And say what you want. Johnny Manziel dropped in the draft because of all the off-the-field stuff. Now, he also didn't put in the work and all that. But when it came to his actual college tape, Johnny Manziel was that dude. Like, there's no other way to put it. He was that motherfucker week in, week out. He would go snort coke at parties, wake up hungover as shit, come in the next day, throw for 300 yards and rush for 100 and beat Bama. Like, that's just what he did. And then you want to say he's the best quarterback since 06 and Tebow? Like, you're proving week in, week out how much of an SEC bias you have. And no matter what anybody else does, it won't matter because I'm the SEC. I'm better than you. We got Bama, Georgia, Texas, LSU, all that, blah, 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 blah. You're an idiot. And you've gotten this far from, you started off, used to be a very knowledgeable person, and you would give really good takes. But it seems to be, as time goes on, you're sitting there just like ESPN and Fox Sports, where it's, I'm just going to say the wildest stuff possible. And it's not like a Pat McAfee where if McAfee says something retarded and wild and funny, you can tell pretty quickly when he's being it. Like, you can tell there's a humor in it where he's not being serious with it. He says it in full seriousness that Arch is the best quarterback since Tebow. Like, that is just absolutely absurd to sit there and say. The last thing I wanted to get into is the fact the NCAA has come out and said they may be allowing athletes and staff and coaches to bet on professional sports. And so, yes, the sports betting thing has become such a big thing, but if you didn't know right now, athletes, coaches, and players and staff and all that can bet on sports that do not have an NCAA championship. So they can't bet on football, basketball, lacrosse, baseball, any of those type of things. But as long as the NCAA doesn't have a championship with it, you can bet on it. And truthfully, I like that to be where it is. If you start letting these athletes bet on professional sports, yes, they're going to be flooding with the NFL. And I don't think it will be as many who will drift over to college, but I still think you'll get a large amount of people who sit there and are like, well, I bet on the NFL. I can place a few bets on college stuff and get away. No, because they're going to ruin their career. They're going to ruin their life, get banned, and then you're going to see stuff like we're seeing in the NBA right now, where the dude from the Pistons or the ex-Pistons player was reportedly shaving points. Or you see the Michael Porter Jr.'s brother and what happened with him. Like, if you let these athletes bet on NFL and professional sports, there's going to be a good majority of them Now, I'm not going to say it's an overwhelming majority, but you are going to have a lot of people who will drift off and start betting on college sports because they're 18 to 20 years old with the mindset of, I can do it there. What makes me not be able to do it here? Well, they won't find out. They're not going to know. Yeah, they will know. And they catch your ass every single time. And now you ruin your career. You ruin it for the school. And now you won't be making the NFL or the NBA or the MLB or PLL, whatever the hell sport you play, because you want to be an absolute idiot. And if we've shown anything, is that these college athletes are not that smart. They're idiots when it comes to this type of stuff, and they don't take it serious enough. And I think if you start allowing them to be able to bet on professional sports that have NCAA championships, it's just going to bleed over. And it will end up being the end of collegiate sports. Thank you again for tuning in. That's really all I got today. So make sure to tune into this episode on YouTube at Leonidas Delyannis, my Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast. It is going to be uploaded onto iHeartRadio also. Thank you again for listening, but also make sure to tune in to my sports Instagram at Leonidas Delyannis _sports and my TikTok at LH Delyannis. Thank you.